Now, not only am I going to share with you guys 13 different graphic design grid systems, and I'm going to show you how they work on real designs with bonus tips along the way. Baseline grids are used to align all body text, headlines, and captions across multiple columns. And this ensures a clean, consistent spacing and improves readability throughout the article or your graphic design. Or that's the intention anyway. Now your bonus tip here is to create a subtle hierarchy. Now consider using different type sizes that still align with the baseline grid. For instance, use a multiple of your base leading. So like 28 points for headlines if your body text is 14 points. This creates a harmonious relationship between the text elements without losing that crisp alignment that we're looking for. Now, a column grid is a versatile layout tool commonly used in magazines, newspapers, and multi-content websites. This grid divides the page into 4 equal vertical sections, giving designers flexibility to organize content whilst maintaining a balance and structure. But the bonus tip here breaks the grid system just a tiny little bit. To create even more visual interest, try overlapping elements like images or text across multiple different columns. For example, a featured image can span across 3 columns, while the accompanying text could just flow into one. With a modular grid, each product, image, or graphic gets its own module. This can be an image, a title, description, price, whatever. And this ensures consistency across multiple pages, while allowing the designer flexibility to showcase different types of content. Now, it's often used in websites, and this grid layout keeps the layout looking clean and easy to navigate. But try this. Vary the module size based on product categories of importance. So for example, maybe highlight bestsellers or new arrivals by giving them more space in the grid, or even spanning 2 modules horizontally. This trick not only makes certain products stand out, but also creates visual interest, breaking the monotony while still keeping things organized, which is important. The manuscript grid is pretty straightforward, it doesn't need much explaining. It's just a single column grid used to organize the flow of a text in a book, and it uses margins for notes or images, ensuring the content is easy to read without any distractions. And well, that's all you need to know really about this one. Can hierarchy utilize grids? Yep, it sure can. In fact, there's even a grid based around hierarchy. And you can use this grid to place large images or important text in blocks, such as headline or call to actions, while secondary information like navigation or footer links is placed less prominently. Now you can start by setting up a grid with different size and shape modules, and then add the content thereafter. But moving on from that, try creating contrast between your primary and secondary elements using color and size. For instance, make your headline bright and bold, but keep the subheadings or navigation links in a muted tone or smaller font. In logos like the Twitter bird or Apple logo, the golden ratio plays a subtle yet powerful role in making them look balanced and visually appealing. This ratio, roughly 1 to 1.618, is all about creating perfect proportions. And when applied to the logo design, or any design for that matter, it helps the shapes and curves feel just right to our eyes. Or so says the theory. Now my bonus tip here might surprise you a tiny bit, and that is, do not become too attached to the specific grid system. You don't have to stick rigidly to the golden ratio. Try using it as a starting point to guide your proportions, then tweak and adjust based on what feels right for the specific project. You don't want to pigeonhole yourself into a corner with this one. Using an asymmetric grid is a great way to give your design a dynamic, eye-catching look while still keeping things organized. Now, asymmetric grids tend to break away from a balanced and symmetrical system, so they're not really that rigid or that generic. By letting the hero image or headline take up more space, you're naturally drawing the viewer's attention to what's most important on your design. And at the same time, the smaller columns for text or extra images provide a secondary flow of importance and information without overwhelming the design. As a bonus tip, try some layering by letting your text overlap with images slightly, or use subtle diagonal lines to further break up space. This creates a sense of depth and motion, making the design feel more alive and less static. A square grid is like the backbone of a visually pleasing gallery. It's all about that clean, uniform vibe that just feels right. So imagine scrolling through an Instagram profile or website where every image or post lines up perfectly in neat little squares. It's not just satisfying to look at, it also makes the content super easy to navigate. Hey, the bonus tip here is actually really smart. And to make your square grid even more engaging, consider adding a pop of color or a subtle pattern as the background for certain squares. This way you can create visual interest without disrupting the overall grid structure. The rule of thirds grid is like your secret weapon for creating stunning visuals. It's super simple, you just divide your design into 9 equal parts with 2 horizontal and 2 vertical lines, and this forms the grid. This method helps you position key elements in a way that feels natural and engaging. But yeah, don't be afraid to mix things up with this one. While the rule of thirds is great for initial placement, you can experiment with breaking it up a bit for dramatic effect. Maybe you place your main subject slightly off the grid to create tension or surprise. Combining a column grid for your product listings with a modular grid for the product details is like having the best of both worlds, and it's called a compound grid. It's all about making your layout flexible while keeping everything looking super clean and organized. But crucially, don't forget to keep some breathing space. Just because you're combining grids doesn't mean you should cramp everything up together, and this goes with pretty much every grid. Use white space strategically to separate different elements. Using an isometric grid is a fantastic way to add a cool 3D vibe to your illustrations or designs. Perfect for making buildings or data structures looking really cool in infographics. It's all about that depth and dimension which can make your design stand out while keeping things clear and organized. Don't shy away from colors and shadows. Adding different shades can enhance the 3D effect and help define the shapes. Use lighter colors on top and darker ones underneath to give a sense of volume and realism. Using a circular grid for a logo sometimes can be a game changer, especially when you're working with round organic shapes. It's all about symmetry, balance, and making sure everything just feels right. But a circular grid doesn't just help with positioning, it also gives you a chance to create interesting shapes in the spaces between your elements. And then we have the triangular grid system. Say on a modern product box, use a triangular grid to create geometric patterns or just position elements like a logo and product details at specific points of interest. And this will give the packaging a unique, dynamic look. Now you can combine the triangular grid with some bright colors or textures to really bring your design to life. For instance, use a subtle gradient that flows along the angles of the triangles, or incorporate metallic foil accents at those key points where your elements meet. But which grid systems do you use, and which ones do you now want to go and try for yourself on your next projects? But for you keen designers out there, if you want to keep learning about layout design, or just click the video on screen. But until next time guys, design your future today. Peace.